What would you do if you found a dying boy in the rain, knowing no one else would help? One stormy afternoon, Emily Carter, a young banker with a heart bigger than her own fears, was driving home from work. The rain pounded on her windshield, blurring the world outside. Suddenly, her eyes caught something that made her heart stop. There, by a swollen, flooded gutter, lay a teenage boy, his body trembling, lips cracked, eyes barely open. Seconds separated him from death. Emily slammed on the brakes, her heart racing. Without thinking, she ran to him, drenched by the storm. "Oh my God," she gasped, kneeling beside him. He was so fragile, so lifeless. Shivering violently, he barely breathed. She lifted him into her arms, feeling the weight of a soul nearly lost to the world. "You're going to be okay," she whispered, though her own voice shook with fear. The boy's name was Ethan, and at just 15, life had already dealt him its cruelest blows. He had grown up with a single mother who adored him, but fate had been merciless. One afternoon, she had died in a car accident on her way to pick him up from school. 3 months later, her family took everything, her house, her savings, her belongings, and left Ethan alone, abandoned to a world that seemed to want nothing from him. For months, Ethan wandered the streets, hungry, lonely, and desperate. He survived on scraps and rainwater, hiding from the cruelty of the world. And on that stormy afternoon, weak and sick, he collapsed beside the gutter, the very spot where Emily found him. Emily's heart refused to let him die. She scooped him into her car and sped to the nearest hospital. Doctors rushed him into emergency care. Hours passed, but Emily never left. Her clothes were soaked, her hands trembling, prayers spilling from her lips in a desperate plea for his life. When the doctor finally emerged, his expression was grave yet amazed. "This boy, he wouldn't have survived another hour if you hadn't brought him." Tears streamed down Emily's face. She didn't know him, but she knew, in that moment, she couldn't walk away. When Ethan awoke, his voice barely a whisper, he said, "Thank you, my name is Ethan." Emily smiled through her tears, making a decision that would shock everyone who knew her. She wouldn't abandon him. She took him in, raising him like her own brother, offering love where the world had shown none. But kindness comes at a cost. Her neighbors whispered behind her back. Friends mocked her, saying she wasted her life on a boy who wasn't her blood. Even worse, her husband, Michael, grew bitter and jealous. One night, Michael cornered her, his voice chilling. "If you don't send that boy away, I will make sure he never sees another day." Emily froze. Poison, her husband. Her mind screamed disbelief. Ethan, hiding by the hallway, overheard the conversation. The truth hit him like a blade. His presence was tearing Emily's life apart. And so, before dawn, he made a heart-wrenching decision. Packing nothing, with no money and no plan, he left quietly. But before he left, he slipped a note into Emily's handbag. "Dear Sister Emily, thank you for saving me. Thank you for loving me when no one else did. I am not your blood, but you made me family. Please forgive me for leaving. I will survive. One day I hope you'll be proud of me. With love, Ethan." When Emily found the note, her hands shook. Tears blurred her vision as she called his name, rushing through the empty house. But he was gone. Ethan walked into the cold, unforgiving world alone. On his way to a distant town, he was ambushed by robbers. Beaten, stripped, left with nothing, he cried bitterly on the roadside. Life had struck him down again, but even in despair, he refused to give up. Day after day, he wandered streets that never slept, begging for scraps, sleeping under abandoned stalls, enduring humiliation and hunger. Yet even in suffering, Ethan carried something rare: humility and faith. Every time he received even the smallest kindness, he whispered, "Thank you." Every insult, he prayed silently. One evening, as he swept outside a small computer repair shop for leftover food, the owner, Mr. Collins, noticed him. Ethan's diligence, respect, and determination stood out. "Come tomorrow," the man said. "I'll teach you if you're willing to learn." Ethan's heart leapt. That day his life began to change. He worked tirelessly, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. He repaired gadgets, learned coding, designed software ideas far beyond the tiny shop's walls. Months turned into years, and one day he started building his own tech solutions, small at first but revolutionary in their potential. Could one act of kindness really change the course of a life forever? Word of his talent spread. Investors came knocking. Companies sought him out. Ethan, once abandoned and broken, began to rise. From a street orphan to a tech prodigy, his dreams became reality. Years later, as a successful CEO with wealth, influence, and respect, he never forgot Emily, the woman who had saved his life when the world ignored him. Then fate intervened. Emily, now in her late 30s, faced a series of cruel misfortunes. A severe illness weakened her body. Michael had abandoned her. Friends turned their backs. Her job was lost, her home taken, and neighbors humiliated her. She knelt on the dusty streets, tears streaming, begging for mercy. Then the roar of engines shattered the cruel laughter. A sleek black luxury car and a commanding van rolled to a stop. From it emerged Ethan, taller, confident, a man transformed, flanked by two imposing officers. The crowd gasped. Emily's heart froze. She barely recognized him. The boy she had once saved was now a powerful man, a tech mogul with the power to change lives. Ethan knelt in the mud before her. "Sister Emily," he said, voice breaking with emotion, "you saved me when I had nothing. Today I am here to save you." He lifted her gently, guiding her to the luxury car. The landlord and neighbors, once cruel, were frozen in shame. Her scattered belongings were collected and restored. She was flown abroad for treatment, her health fully recovered, and given a home filled with dignity and comfort. A year later, Ethan married. Emily stood proudly by his side, honored as the mother of his home, a revered figure in his life. The boy she saved had grown into a man God used to restore her life, proving that every act of love, sacrifice, and compassion, no matter how small, never goes unnoticed. Rejection is not the end of destiny. Mockery and cruelty are often the setup for divine restoration. Emily, once abandoned, humiliated, and rejected, found herself celebrated and cherished. Ethan, the boy once dying in the gutter, had become the instrument of her healing, honor, and joy. Every act of kindness plants seeds that blossom in ways we cannot imagine. Every life touched matters. And sometimes, those we help most are destined to return as the greatest blessing we could ever receive. What would you feel if the child you saved came back years later to save you?